Hello everyone. Here to introduce a little project that I've been working on that is almost ready finally. I'm working on a couple projects right now, so I know that I'm very behind on videos, but a couple of these projects are now coming to completion, so I'll be able to kind of catch up on videos. But anyway, so as you know, Sacred Woundings, I love this deck. It's probably my favorite deck that I've created. I want it more. I want it more options. I want it more combinations. I want it more like depth, digging deeper, looking at wounds from a different perspective. So at first I was kind of going to go with like a second round of the same deck, and it just didn't feel right. Because I feel like these cover generally the wounds that I feel comfortable making a card for, because anything else would be kind of branching into territory that maybe cards shouldn't go into. So I feel like these kind of cover all the wounds that I wanted to cover. So anyway, I was having a hard time figuring out how to get more than, like, how can I add in another element that is like the same but different, but like allows for combination and depth of the same deck. So Sacred Woundings is going to be having a little baby. And I say that because it's a little shorter. This is Sacred Woundings Archetype deck. As you can see, the shadows are people on the deck, like the different versions of ourselves. It is the same amount of cards as Sacred Woundings, but I did a different card stock, so it's a little bit thinner. I don't know, I kind of like the mixing of the thicker and the thinner, and I kind of want to switch to the thinner anyway because I like it better. So anyway, that's this. It's, there you go, that's it from the side. So I'm going to read you a little bit of the little guidebook that's going to come with it. It is also going to have a digital PDF guidebook because the company that I get this from does not make a guidebook that would be long enough for the length of what the Sacred Woundings guidebook is. The most that they do is 192 pages when it comes to like what could go with the deck, which is why I'm still doing it separately, and it still will be offered as a free PDF, or you can purchase the paperback or Kindle copy. So this is the little guidebook that comes with it, and it's going to have a QR code for the guidebook that I just talked about. So I'm just going to read you this so you can kind of see my vision on this, and then I'll show you some of the cards. So essentially, these are the wounds that we get on our journey, and then this is who we become from those wounds, like what we need to then work through. That'll make more sense when I show you the cards, but that's kind of the vibe I'm going for here. Okay, so what is an archetypal wound? It is more than just a passing emotion. It is a patterned experience that shapes your identity, behavior, and perception of the world. It becomes a lens, a mask, a cage, and eventually an opportunity for liberation. These wounds may arise from childhood survival adaptations, generational trauma, internalized beliefs, cultural or collective pain, spiritual disconnection or exile, developmental or relational ruptures. And they often carry a core narrative such as I'm too much or I'm never enough, a coping mechanism, pleasing, hiding, performing, or numbing, an emotional imprint, shame, grief, fear, or emptiness, and a soul longing to be seen, to be safe, or to be free. In this deck, each wound is represented as a symbolic persona, a mirror that the part of you carries, hides, or is ready to release. Why wounds? Because wounds hold the doorway to our transformation. To name the wound is not to stay broken, it is to reclaim the story. To see the pattern is not to indulge it, it is to bring it out of its shadows. These wounds are not flaws or failures, they are places where your light was interrupted and now is ready to return. This is a deck for the brave, the tender, the ones who know that healing isn't always pretty, but always sacred. Okay, so this is a deck of soul survival, is how I worded it. This is not a deck of surface affirmations or polished personas. This is a deck of sacred wounds, the hidden archetypes born from pain, protection, and the body's instinct to survive. Each card holds a story your soul remembers, not just a feeling, but a shape your suffering took. Not just an experience, but an identity your pain carved into you. These are not archetypes in the traditional sense, the hero, the lover, the sage, but rather shadow-born archetypes, such as the exiled healer, the threadbare mask, and the shamed dreamer. Each is an embodiment of the ways we fracture, adapt, and forget ourselves in the face of fear, rejection, neglect, or betrayal. They are soul fragments in symbolic form, raw, honest, and sacred in their imperfection. How to use this deck. There's no wrong way to use this deck. It can be read as an oracle. What am I being asked to feel, name, or heal right now? As a shadow work tool, which part of me is asking to be witnessed? As an emotional integration ritual, what story is still living in my body? As an archetypal map, what themes have defined my survival? Each card offers a title, such as the Silent Oracle, a poetic phrase that names the wound, such as knowing the truth but be punished for speaking it, and a one-paragraph description of the pattern, how it forms, and how it feels. So that is my intention with this deck. Haven't shuffled it yet, so I wanted to kind of keep it in alphabetical order to go through. So it will come in alphabetical order like the other. We have some, I'm not going to show you all of them, but we'll kind of get the gist of what we're looking at here. We have the wound of the abandoned inner child, left behind in your own story. This wound forms when the most tender parts of you are neglected, dismissed, or silenced by others or by yourself. You learned to survive by pushing those pieces away. It can leave you feeling empty, disconnected, or yearning for the safety and love that you never received. Ignore my nails. I really need to get them done. I have not had time. So I'm just going to do like a couple, and then we'll do a little pick a pile. The wound of empty nesting. Loneliness amid constant doing. This wound forms when busyness becomes a buffer against emptiness. You stay occupied, productive, or needed, yet feel isolated beneath it all. It can leave you aching for connection in the quiet moments, unsure how to be with yourself when the tasks fall away. The wound of the hollow gaze. Appearing present while emotionally gone. This wound forms when you learn to stay physically present while emotionally checking out. You may smile, nod, or keep up the motions, but inside you're distant or numb. It can leave you feeling invisible even to yourself, unsure how to truly come back to your body and heart. Let's do two more. The wound of the kindness curse. Taught that love must be earned with pain. This wound arises when care, affection, or approval come with strings attached. You learned that to be loved, you had to sacrifice, suffer, or shapeshift. It can leave you overgiving, afraid of ease, and tangled in the belief that love must always cost you something. And the last one, and then we'll do a pick a pile. The wound of the split self. And I know that there's one picture in this deck that is the same picture as the other deck, and it is this picture. And it is because I could not find another picture that I could settle on, and this was the perfect description for this card. So yes, I'm leaving it there on purpose because it is the best representation available to me of this card. Anyway, the wound of the split self. Becoming who you had to be, not who you are. This wound forms when survival requires you to disconnect from your truth, shaping your identity around what was safe, acceptable, or expected. Parts of you are hidden, silenced, or forgotten to keep the peace. It can leave you feeling hollow, inauthentic, and unsure how to reunite with the self you left behind. Okay, so what I'm going to do now We're going to do a pick a pile with both decks. I'm going to do 3 combinations of cards. So you're going to pick a number 1, 2, or 3. And we're going to do a Sacred Woundings regular with a Sacred Woundings Archetypes deck. So you can kind of see my vision when I am talking about the confirmation or the combinations. Okay. Let's do pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. That one is not. Oh no. There they are. Oh, and the back I did doors, like the different door. It's like little doors, different little wooden doors in the background instead of like this part. This is like the lessons and the wounds, and then this is like who we become. Get it? That's kind of where I was going with that. Anyway, this is going to be pile 1, this is going to be pile 2, and this is going to be pile 3. I'll also pick a token for each pile in a second. It's upside down. See, I was kind of going like same but different. So you can mix them together if you want, but if you want to separate them, you can still easily do that. All right. Oh, it's upside down. The suspense. I'll flip it over in a second. I just want to see if they all come out upside down. No, that one is the shadow self. Oh, that one is coming out by itself. That is a 4-leaf clover. And this first one is a banana. I don't think I have that book. Okay, so the 4-leaf clover, we know what that is because I don't have that book anymore. The bananas, crazy is the description. And number 28, the shadow, seeing one's shadow side, someone unaware of their dark side. No way did that come out when we're doing the shadow wounds and sacred wounds deck. That's funny. Out of all these tokens, look at this. Interesting. Anyways. All right, pile 1. I'm going to do this. Pile 1. If you picked pile 1, we have the wound of the unworthy soul and cognitive dissonance. Interesting combo. Believing you must earn love and light. This wound arises when you internalize the belief that love, joy, or peace must be deserved through effort or perfection. You strive to be good enough, fearing that simply existing isn't sufficient. It can leave you exhausted, ashamed, and unable to receive what was always meant for you. Plus cognitive dissonance here. So issues coming from cognitive dissonance will show up as internal conflict or confusion, struggling to reconcile conflicting beliefs or behaviors, often resulting from being taught contradictory messages growing up, leaving you unsure of your values and beliefs. And the banana is crazy, right? This is, it's like you are getting glimpses of your potential or glimpses of your worth or glimpses of you just being deserving just for existing and not doing. But every time you get one of these glimpses, there's a part of you that tries to convince yourself it can't be that good. That can't be true. It's like the old version of you trying to convince the new version of you not to get too far out of reach as it comes to your worth. So this is, you know, when there's like a fuzzy TV screen and you hit it for a second and it's clear and then it goes fuzzy again. This is that. It's like for so long there's been this fuzzy screen around your self-worth, but you start hitting the screen and you get moments of clarity and then they go away again. So it's about figuring out a way to keep switched on to that frequency of believing that you're worthy, not from doing, just from being. How to. And people may have tried to convince you that you were don't want to use the word crazy, but people may have tried to project their lack of self-worthiness onto you, and it made you feel like you were losing your mind because you were like, I don't understand. How am I attracting these things to me if it's not who I am? And it just feels like there were certain experiences you needed to have certain experiences where you could look at the situation and say, that's not who I want to be. That's not who I am. I'm going to figure out a path back to myself. How to. Pile one, not going to let other people's lack of self-worth be the frequency that played in your mind about your own. Okay, 2, and we have this shadow wound. Seems important. Hyper-aware mind, the wound of the hyper-aware mind, and codependency wounds. I know where this one's going. Scanning every room for danger, even in peace. This wound forms when your nervous system is wired for threat, not trust. You read tone, body language, and silence like warning signs, always preparing, never settling. It can leave you exhausted, disconnected from the present, and unsure how to feel safe when nothing is actually wrong. The shadow. This is the shadow wound of codependency. Codependency will show up as relying excessively on others for validation and emotional support, often neglecting your own needs. It may involve difficulty setting boundaries and feeling unworthy of love unless you're constantly giving to others, rooted in past neglect or enmeshment. So it feels like the shadow wound of codependency, how others affected you, didn't show up for you, betrayed you in the past. It's almost like there's this constant, when is it going to happen again? But at the same time, there needs to be this awareness that because you learned from those past instances, you now have the discernment, and discernment is when you don't have to go all the way into the lesson to complete it. So allow your discernment to help calm your mind, because people may still not be the best for you always. It's not that you're never going to run into someone who's shady again. It's just that your discernment is going to tell you that's the wrong direction, and your experience is going to allow you to listen to what your discernment is telling you, because discernment is when you don't have to go all the way into the lesson to learn it. So this is trust your discernment to get your mind to calm down, because your shadow feels to constantly be chasing you, and that is what will help you feel like you've gotten, like you've lapped the shadow. You're far enough away. Pile 3. We have a 4-leaf clover upside down though. So it feels like maybe a bit of feeling like you've been having bad luck lately is this pile 3. The wound of the misnamed soul and needing to address a control wound. Interesting. Called things you never were. This wound arises when others define you through their projections, labels, or fears. You're misunderstood, mischaracterized, or cast in roles that distort your truth. It can leave you confused about who you are, constantly defending yourself, or hiding the parts of you that never felt safe to reveal. And we have that with a control wound, which will show up as a strong need to control people or situations, stemming from a fear of vulnerability or unpredictability. It often arises from past abandonment or betrayal, causing anxiety and perfectionism when things feel out of control. Individuals may struggle to trust others and seek to avoid emotional pain by micromanaging outcomes. Misnamed soul and control wound. I feel like there is this trying to live up to a certain tightrope of walking, like you're walking down this very specific tightrope. And it's almost like this air of perfectionism where you feel like you know who you are, but because of things that people have kind of thrown onto you in the past, you want to make sure that they don't feel like they're right. So this doesn't really feel like a angry prove them wrong. It's more just like, I don't want to slip into imposter syndrome by giving people the pieces to be like, oh, I told you so. And this control wound coming out with this, it's like, if you can just do everything perfectly, then you'll convince people that you are pure, that you are of sound mind, that you are doing the right thing, that you are in the right place. It's like, if you can just, this to me reads like perfectionism. And it feels like lately there's been things that didn't go according to plan with this 4-leaf clover in reverse. So there's this feeling of needing to release, feeling like everything always needs to be perfect because things haven't been perfect lately with this unlucky wave, but you're still making progress. You're still knowing who you are. This feels like a test that you've passed and you just need to acknowledge it now, is kind of how I'd word that. So that is the new deck. I did not order it yet. I still need to look through it a little bit more and see if I need to make any changes. I would probably say I'll be ordering it in about a week. So probably the end of April, beginning of May at the very latest. I'm shooting for the end of April. I think if I order it right now, it puts it here about the 26th, but I'm not ordering it right now. So first week of May at the latest. I think that's all. I'll put the pre-order link below. I don't know how many I'm ordering for the first round. I guess I'm going to kind of base that off of pre-order over the next couple days because I just ordered a lot of the other deck. And I am out of room. So yeah, I think that's all I had to say. This is something I've been working on for a really long time. I'm hoping that I'll be about done the guidebook by the time the deck is out. Fingers crossed. I think I should be. That's the goal. But if not, very quickly after, if I don't end up being done by then. So yeah, that is it. If you'd like to pre-order, I'll link it below in my Stan store. Please remember, I will never reach out to you. I will not DM you, comment to you. The only way to book or anything with me is stan.store/thereckoningco. I think there's still a couple spots open. I opened them a little late this morning. I did it and I didn't realize that it didn't load, and I jumped into a meeting and I didn't realize until someone emailed me that the spots didn't open. So I was a little late this morning on getting them open. I think they opened at like noon instead. Anyway, there's a couple spots open, I think. I'm trying to, oh, I will be catching up on readings next week, hopefully. Again, because now that some of this stuff is kind of ready to go and wrapped up. I'm doing a members live tomorrow. I hope to be doing at least one subscribers live every other week starting next week. Fingers crossed. In addition to the members, and getting back into true crime more so. So please be patient with me. I'm doing my best. I had a couple other things I had to take care of that I wasn't able to kind of be here as much. So that is all. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow for members live and later in the week, hopefully, for true crime. Just a heads up, I'm getting another IPL, so my face may be looking a little bit funny. But I will be here. Talk to you soon.